Hello respected viewers, here I am at 30 Portland Place, London, and behind me is the house where Kenneth Clark lived between the years 1934 and 39. So we're, what would you call this area? I suppose it's almost Fitzrovia. This is the very edge of Fitzrovia, as in near Fitzroy Square, and we're just behind Broadcasting House, the headquarters of the BBC. So Lord Clark was born in 1903. And his family had made a fortune 2 generations earlier in Paisley, Scotland, in textiles. So Lord Clark, he went to Winchester College and then on to Trinity College, Oxford, where he read history, if I got that right, and he took a second. In those days, there was first class, second class, third and fourth, a gentleman's fourth. There was no distinction between 2-1 and 2-2. That came in the 60s at the abolishment of a fourth class degree. But he was independently wealthy, had no need to work. But he was made director of the National Gallery in the 1930s, had a very good relationship with King George VI. Now, he married a Miss Martin, who was the daughter of a well-known Dublin businessman, and his wife, who was one of the first Irish women to qualify as a doctor. So Kenneth Clark's wife, she had studied at Somerville College, Oxford, and graduated. So it was very unusual for a married couple to both be university graduates in those days. So they were blessed with their firstborn, Alan Clark, in 1929, if memory serves. And then a couple of years later, the twins, Colin and Kelly, as in boy and girl. Kelly, a highly unusual name in the United Kingdom at the time, is an Irish surname. Often that might be a boy's name, because quite often they gave the mother's maiden name to the eldest son. But the rumour was in those days, if twins were born of opposite sexes, that meant different fathers. Well, they think that's true. But he and his wife carried on with others a little bit. So they lived here for a while. Later on, they had Capo di Monte in Hampstead, as in head of the hill, just on the edge of Hampstead Heath. Where else they used to live? They had a house in the west near Lancaster Gate. He also had estates in Scotland. He latterly purchased Saltwood Castle in Kent, and that is notably where 4, or is it 5 knights, depending on which chronicle you read, plotted the murder of Thomas Becket in 1170. Anyway, so he purchased that in the 1950s. It was his for a song. So and then he made a television series in the 1960s called Civilisation, and he was commonly known as Lord Clark of Civilisation. He was a life peer, and despite his upper-class pedigree, not really went, aristocracy, a counter-jumper, as they say. They'd studied their hands in trade, but nevertheless very much accepted as part of the establishment. He was a Labour sympathiser, not a party member. He never contested public office. And he was ennobled in the 60s. So then his first wife died in the early 70s, and then he wed, what's her name? Is it Nolwenn de Janzé, a French-American aristocrat. And she'd spent part of her childhood in Kenya. She was previously married. Her mother was part of that very louche Happy Valley set in the 1940s of aristocrats, mostly British, somewhat Danish, like, what's her name? It'll come to me, Isaac Dinson, who wrote Out of Africa, as in ex-Africa Semper Aliquid Novis by Pliny. Out of Africa, always something new. You should watch that film, White Mischief, about it, and read the book White Mischief. So about these aristocrats with very louche sex lives who'd have these cocaine-fueled orgies during the Second World time, a time of terror and hardship here in Britain. Obviously, it delighted and appalled the tabloid reading public for its salacious particulars. But anyway, so he married her much to the chagrin of Alan, and his son was a waspish diarist, the soul of indiscretion. So he died in 1983 and got his eldest son Alan got almost everything. The Honourable Alan Clark, as he was then, a Conservative MP for Plymouth Devonport since 1974. He stood down from Parliament in 1992 and regretted his colossal error as he saw it. He re-entered Parliament in 1997 for Kensington-Chelsea, one of the safest Conservative divisions in the country, as he said himself, division as in constituency. So his son Colin was a film director and, according to himself, had a fling with Marilyn Monroe in the 1950s. You can see My Week with Marilyn, starring another old Etonian, Eddie Redmayne. Anyway, and then I don't know that much about his daughter Kelly. So he's died in 1983. I'm not sure if he's buried in the grounds of Saltwood Castle. So He was a communicant of the Church of England, whereas his son, Alan, flirted with the Roman Catholic Church, but ultimately didn't cross the Tiber because Father Michael Seed, who was sort of a father confessor to conservatives who were thinking of converting to Catholicism, told him that no, his hounds could not join him in heaven. So that is Lord Clark of Civilisation, who looked very like his son, Alan Clark. You should see there the Alan Clark Diaries, starring John Hurt in the title role. Yeah, so that's his house. It was not short of a few pennies, and so in the Second World War, most of the art treasures were put down at a coal mine in Wales, so they wouldn't be destroyed if the place was blown up. They used to take one back each week and display it for the public. People would queue in the rain to see one oil painting, something to buoy up their spirits during the Blitz. Anyway, thank you for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate to PayPal, georgecallahan79@gmail.com. Toodaloo.